Welcome back to CAS 133, Basic Computer Skills, Microsoft Office. Columbia Gorge Community College, The Dalles, Oregon, Linda Hughitt, instructor. This video is going to start us into week 3. We've completed week 1 and week 2, but now that we're moving into week 3, some things are going to be a little bit different. This is going to be the first week we're using our textbook. You're going to need your book, and you're going to need your book during this video so you can follow along. This video is going to take you on a little bit of tour of what Moodle is going to look like starting with week 3. It's going to also take you on a little bit of tour of your book. It's going to be a little bit longer video than future ones because it is the first of the series. You'll notice when you arrive here there is additional support. If you aren't sure what's the difference between, say, Office 365 and Office 2013, maybe you're not sure of some of the features, 10 things you wanted to know, how to insert video or edit PDF files. We're not going to actually spend time doing that, but that's a useful skill to know. So that's been included there. Those are all optional. You can use them as needed. However, then moving down, and those are ones where you can add your own check mark to them when you have actually viewed them. The nice thing about making your check marks as you go, if you do that, then if you found a video you really liked, you can go back and say, oh, that's the one that's got the check mark. That must have been the one I really liked, that was really helpful, and you don't have to dig through everything. Down here, now you're into the required work. Your unit goals will be listed there for you for each week, as well as the project directions, kind of a summary of what the directions are for that week. And then a summary. The summary is more of a kind of a check it off, did you get it done type list. So let's look at the application project directions and the direction summary as we kind of work our way through the chapter. Now the next thing you're going to need to know is these are your required videos to watch or information to watch to get ready to do this project. Those need to be done before you start the project. And even though those videos were not made for this specific project, i.e. they don't have step-by-step directions for you, and they may go into talking about using templates or something like that that we're not going to be doing, they do have good general information to help get you ready for the project. And then the next thing you're going to find is a link down here, and actually this should be moved up here and it will get moved up there. These are your downloads. Anything that you're going to need for that week is going to be in this student data files for whatever it's going to be. You're going to click that open. It's going to start to download if you're in Google Chrome. If you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox, you may need to right-click and ask it to save link as. It'll bring up the box, and then you will be able to direct it to where you want to store things. Now, if you are on a library, Columbia Gorge Community College computer someplace, now I can just drag it and drop it. And in my case, I already have it there since I just uploaded it. Be careful. Columbia Gorge Community College has something that's really cool and a little scary going on with the computers. And it's something called deep freeze. And what it does is anytime the machine is restarted, it wipes it as though it's never been used before by anyone. Now that's really cool because if you've entered any passwords or any information into that computer, you don't have to worry about anybody ever being able to access it because it's completely wiped it back to brand spanking new. That means, though, that if you do your work, you save it on the desktop, you forget to upload it, you shut down and go, oh, rats, and you go to restart the machine, it's not going to be there. Also, if there's one of those little power surges and machines go off temporarily and come back on, your work is gone. Everything you've been doing is gone. Now, while that's not necessarily bad for the download of that zip file with the student data files, because you can always download that again, but on your papers, I suggest that you are in fact using a flash drive or using the cloud to store them in and save as you go, because if you're not and something does happen, you will lose it. And sometimes students think, well, when I get done, I can just email it to myself and that'll give me a copy of it. And you can, that's fine. Just know that if anything happens while you're working, you're out of luck and starting over. There's a little form here, and this form may not be here forever, but for right now it's going to be there. And that is if for some reason you have just purchased Office 2010 to use in a class or for whatever reason, and you're going, I just bought that in the last couple of terms and I'm now having to switch to 13. This is going to be your kind of escape route to try to use 10. Now, I don't know how well it's going to work. I haven't tried the projects with 2010, so you're going to have to just kind of take your chances on that. But if you're going to do that, that is a form for you to use to let me know that you are using 2010 and what you've run into and what you did to deal with it. That is not for those of you that are using 2013 or 365 that run into a problem. You say, well, it doesn't have the color, it doesn't have the font. I'll just use that form. Nope. That means you have a mistake and you need to fix it. Okay? So those are kind of the two downloads for this week. This is where you're going to upload your learning project, your application project, your journal, and your form. So let's kind of talk our way through it. We're going to go to the textbook. So go ahead and get it out. Pause this if you need to. Now the very front has some walkthrough about basically technology in general. So if I'm using words you don't recognize like jump drive or USB flash drive or thumb drive or whatever it is, the same thing by the way, all those names go for the same piece of equipment, you may want to look through some of those pages so that you understand some of the terminology that are going to be used. As you continue through, you're going to get to Office 2013 and Windows 8, and it's going to talk a little bit about using it with Windows 8. So if you're using Windows 8, I would encourage you to go ahead and read through that section. If you're still using Windows 7, that's just fine. That's what I'm using. And you are more than welcome to still take this class. It's not going to be a least bit of a problem. It will work just fine. However, you do need to know that if you're using a really, really old machine like a XP or a Vista or something like that that's older than Windows 7, you're probably going to run into some issues trying to install 2013 on it. I think I saw someplace on one of the Microsoft websites that it will not install on some of those slightly older machines. So just have that in mind so that if you are using an XP machine, you plan your time to be up at the college and using a college machine or a friend's machine or something like that. Then it talks about Office 365. It's a kind of a new subscription version. The college has a fairly nice deal on it for you. If you've not bought your software, you can go to the college. You can buy the 365 for a fairly reasonable price. It's good for 4 years. At the end of that 4 years, my understanding from some research I did was that you can renew it for another 4 years. By that time, I know Microsoft is going to have come out with another update, and you can simply move on. You're talking probably under $100 per year at this point as a student to renew. So those are kind of your options, and that's available. Once you complete that, though, we're going to actually be starting in the area that has a blue title at the top. It says Microsoft Word 2013. It's Chapter 1. It's called Creating, Formatting, and Editing a Word Document with a Picture. They give you an introduction. It talks about the flyer you're going to be doing. And on WD, that's what they call it, Word document 3, you will see a picture of the completed flyer. That is what your flyer is going to look like when it's done, if you've done it step by step correctly. So that is your learning project. Your learning project is going to start on WD2. You're going to look at WD3, WD4. You're going to go page by page, word by word, reading carefully. At the top of WD4, there is a roadmap that kind of talks you through what you're going to be doing. And you'll notice that number 6 says correct errors and revise. A lot of times they have you go back and change things near the end of the chapter. Don't just slap the book shut and go, done, because the answer is maybe not. We're going to continue on through here. It does talk about displaying formatting markings, and I know some students go a little insane with that. I do not use the formatting markings. I work without them, but before I consider myself done, I turn the formatting markings on and verify that I have things as they should be, and then I can turn them back off. Don't worry about whether you have them on or off when you submit your work. They're turned on your machine. I don't see whether you have them on or whether you have them off when you turn your work in. Word wrap is a really important thing to know about, and it's one that gets students in trouble. On the learning project, you're to have it matching exactly. But word wrap kind of wraps based on all sorts of different things like resolution on your screen, which printer's connected to your machine is installed, which printer's connected to my machine, all those types of things. So the word wrap may wrap at slightly different places than it does on the picture, and it may wrap at a slightly different place on my screen than it does on your screen because of the difference in printers. Do not try to force it to match up exactly there by putting in a bunch of extra returns and enters to try to get things on the line you think they should be on, because all you're going to do is have a mess and get graded down for it. As you're continuing to work through, you're going to see a lot of places where they're going to give you a lot of shortcuts and things that will probably help you. But one thing that may get you in trouble is on like WD-14, it talks about fonts, font sizes, and themes. And what students will often do is say, well, it doesn't have a red number there, doesn't mean I have to do anything, ignore it and move on. However, a document theme is a set of basically packaged formats that includes your fonts, your colors, and your graphics that go with it. If you are told to turn on a theme or a style and you do not do so, then later in the project when it asks you for, green such and such and such and such, you're going to be sending me an email or whatever saying, I don't have that green, or I don't even have green. And it's because you missed a step right back here. So please make sure you are reading everything as you go. You are following all directions. And if you're using 2013 and you can't make something work, you have a mistake. It's not that the book doesn't work, or it's not that it's just not there on your machine. It's you made a mistake. You need to go back and figure that out. So you continue on through, working your way through all of the various lots and lots of directions. It takes some time. Do not wait till the last couple of hours when your work is due. Think, oh yeah, I'll just whip that thing right on off. Because it takes me quite a bit of time to do it, and I've been doing this for quite a while. So given that, please do not wait till the last minute. So now I've worked my way pretty much through, and at the end of the chapter, it has some things that it wants me to do. It wants me to insert some text. It wants me to move some text around or delete some text. It wants to have me save it, obviously. I don't care what you name it when you save it. I'm not real picky that matches, because I often encourage you to save it long before the book gets around to talk about saving, because that's a lot more than I would personally want to lose. Okay. It does talk about printing, but in this class you will not be printing anything. We are an online class. There's no way to use it. Now, if you want to print something for your own use, that is totally up to you. But you are not going to be printing it for me. So that's just not something you're going to be doing. Let's see, anything else back here? Just kind of looking at the end of the chapter to make sure we don't miss something. Oh, on WD-44, it talks about document properties. And document properties are basically a way for you to add information kind of behind the scenes to a document. Can be very useful in a business setting to show ownership, authorship. It also can be really useful if a document's been passed around some, that the person getting it can go, oh, that's who made it. Let me go talk to them about it. So you are asked to do some document property changes. You need to make sure you do so. It does talk about signing out of your your Microsoft account if you're using 365. Then it talks about correcting errors. It talks about inserting the text. It talks about moving the text. So notice that all comes after it looks like you're done. Then you get to the printing, which you won't actually be doing unless you need to do it for your own basic use for some reason. And you get to the end of the chapter summary at the very end, which does give you a little mini index if you wanted to go back and look something up from when you were working. Then you're going to notice the pages turn sort of yellow on WD-55, and you're going to ignore a number of those. However, when you get to in the labs and WD 58, if you're wanting to do extra credit, this is where you're going to do it at. You're going to do one of the in the labs. Any pictures or materials you need are in that file you downloaded already that was zipped in the student data files. So you've got a couple of choices there. You may do one word project, extra credit for up to possibly 20 points. Needs to be submitted within 1 week of the unit that we've done. So let's say we finish this on Saturday. It needs to be done by the next Saturday when the unit and the links will close for that unit. And there is going to be an extra credit upload for that unit put there so that you can actually upload it into Moodle. I haven't done that yet because this class is undergoing revision, but it will be there by the time you look at it. Now on WD 63, you're going to see consider this your turn. Now you'll notice we talked about application projects. So let's go open that file about application projects because that's what starts on WD 63 and on WD 64. That's your application project. Your learning project was the textbook we just walked through. So your application project directions, basically these are the projects that you're going to do to show what you've learned. They are worth 50 points, whereas the learning projects are worth 20. You need to do them after you have done the learning project. If you try to do them in the other order, you will basically sort of have a situation where you just put your coat on and then put your shirt over the top of it. Didn't work out so well. It's a little backwards. You're going to find this, consider this your turn. It's at the yellow pages at the end of each chapter. Under that heading, there are 3 projects. The first one is kind of a personal. It might be something, it is not just pick your own personal. It gives you set directions, but it's something that could be used of a more personal nature, like you're maybe making a flyer for a club or a group type of thing. The next one is more professional. In this case, you're going to be doing a hot air balloon flyer. And then the last option is more of a research and collaboration. Now, it's going to sound like on the research and collaboration that you've got this team and this partnership. Well, you are it, the one and the only. This is not a partnership project. This is your application of it. So when it says, well, somebody go do the research, guess what? You're the somebody. And if it says, well, somebody do this, well, you're still the somebody. So you need to think about that and if that's what you want to do. Now, there are 2 parts to this project. So let's talk a little bit about what you do. Once you've followed the directions and you've got it completed, for part 1, you will get the document that you're going to upload into Moodle. In the document properties area, you need to show me the name of that project. So in other words, if you were doing the one that was the photography club flyer, the personal one, you're going to call it photography club flyer in your document properties. If you chose the one that was the hot air balloon rides, you're going to call it that. If you chose the one that was the water park, you're going to call it that. So I should be able to see the name of the flyer you were doing in the document properties. Okay. Also, you need to set the properties to show you as the author, and those will be graded activities. Then Moodle has a setting, and we'll look at that here in just a minute, that allow you to add some notes. And those notes should answer the questions that go with part 2 of each one of those. So if I was going to be doing the club flyer, down at part 2, it says you made several decisions while creating the flyer in this assignment. Where to place text, how to format the text, font size, paragraph alignment, bulleted paragraphs, underlines, italics, bolds, colors, which graphics to use, where to position the graphics, how to format the graphics, which page enhancements to add, i.e. borders or spacing. What was the rationale behind each of these decisions? And when you proofread the document, what further revisions did you make and why? How would you recommend distributing this flyer? So you're going to take each one of those questions, you're going to type it into a Word document, and basically you're going to address your decisions you made while creating this flyer. Then you're going to address what was the reason behind each of those decisions. When you proofread it, what further changes did you make? And then you're going to address how did you recommend distributing the flyer. Now that means that I will see the question and then your answer. I will see the question and then your answer. I will see the question and then your answer. Not just this big long rambling answers. I should see the questions for each one of those. Then you will copy and paste it into the Moodle document. All right, so here's the application grading rubric. You can go through and look at how it's graded. So the grading's right there for part 1 and the grading for part 2. Part 1 is worth 30 points, part 2 is worth 20 points. So that'll give you a little bit of an idea. Now let's go back and look at what that would look like if we were going to actually be submitting that. So I have this application project. I'm going to upload it. But it's overdue by 14 days, so I would have to change that before we can continue this video. So there's going to be a slight pause. All right, that slight problem has now been corrected. We're back to the page we were on. Your directions are right there. And now I can add submission. It will allow me to drag and drop a file here, so I have completed my Word document. And I'm just going to go borrow a file to upload, because it really doesn't matter what it is. One thing to know, to work in and out of a zip file, you basically have to copy it out to your desktop before you can upload it. It does not let you work directly from a zip, so make sure you pull that zip file down, then you open the folder and take out the picture that you need or the file you need before you try to work with it. So now I'm uploading the file. Now it's going to let me save changes. And now I can go to this comments. When I open the comments, that's where I can now paste my answers to the questions in a question answer format. So I will just basically copy and paste it and save the comment. And then I can go back using the toolbar at the top, go back to my class, continue to work on the rest of the week's work. There are a couple of more assignments you will be doing each week. There is a journal reflection that you'll be doing each week. And basically in that, you're going to use 150 words or more to discuss the week's assignments in a 3-2-1 evaluation format, which is basically a reflection of your week. You will tell me 3 things that you learned, those aha moments. They will be in full sentences using standard English. 3 to 5 sentences probably per each, so that means 15 to give or take up to 15 sentences, maybe 20 sentences to answer that first part. Second part, you're going to tell me 2 questions you have or 2 things that you're still wondering about. The I wonder if type of things. For some of them, they may be ones that I actually answer for you when I do your basic scoring. Others of them I may not, just depending on what you've put there. And then tell me 1 way you're going to apply the things that you've learned from this week. Oh, we're having a great barbecue in the neighborhood next month, and I'm going to make the flyers for that. Great. There you go. Then the scoring is included as well. Basically talks about what you had to do to get each score. No late work will be accepted for journals, and no work that's submitted on time, of course, will result in a score of 0. You do not get a chance to email me that later. The most I might do is if you've had a really serious situation occur, I might mark it as an excused, but it will not be a graded. It will not come in late. There's one other thing that I will not accept late either, and that's a discussion in the forums, because once the discussion's over, it's kind of hard to, like, everybody's left the classroom if we were in a real classroom and they've gone home and suddenly you add a comment. Not going to do much good. The room's empty. So basically, once a discussion forum is done, it's done. There are no late comments to be added to it. and you're going to go in here and you're going to add a discussion post. You're going to put your title in. You're going to write your information down here, and you need approximately 100 words or more. You do have the choice of whether it's emailed to you or not. And again, if you have it emailed to you, you can follow it by email. If you don't, you're going to need to come in here and read. Then you need to go and find one post that somebody's made down along the lines here, and you need to do at least a 50-word reply to them. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what you need to be doing for each week and for this beginning of this week. It will follow similar formats. The videos will be much shorter after this. If you have any questions, please email me and ask them. Thank you.